Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. A lot of things are happening along the border, in not only just along the border and into Mexico, but also inside United States. A lot of surveillance mission flights are being taken by the US military. And to understand all these things, I would like to present with you a small slide deck and how the US is going about systematically mapping what is going on as far as the cartel activity is concerned. A small request to all of you to please like this video, and if you have not already subscribed to our channel, please do so. Here we go. All those statements that Trump made, that he was going to act against the cartels, now it is all being put into play. First of all, we have the illegals being deported via planes to many countries. That's happening on one side. On the other side, what we are also seeing is that the Trump administration has deployed military, and in particular many surveillance aircraft, which are essentially looking at what is happening along the border and inside where these various cartels are active. And I'm going to show you a map of some of the routes taken by these airplanes. Like, for example, so far 18 missions have been conducted using advanced spy planes over the southwestern US and international airspace near the Baja Peninsula. This is just the Baja Peninsula, and that would be, see, if you look at this picture here, the February 3rd, 4th flight around the Baja Peninsula, that was one particular flight. But you can see a lot of flights happen along the west coast. The California ends into Mexico, and the state that starts on Mexico is called Baja California, and the Sinaloa cartels and many other cartels are very active there. First of all, to understand the depth of this problem, we need to know that the drug activity in America has now completely concentrated itself into Mexico. There were two cartels out of Colombia called the 𝗤𝗙 and the Medellin. Once those got eliminated, now everything around the drugs trafficking is happening only, or 90% I should say, is happening in Mexico. Now, this is not the only thing. The United States thinks that a senior official from the MSS, which is a secret service organization of the Chinese Communist Party, is actually sitting with the cartels and directing a lot of the technology that has been given to these cartels to try and get their stuff across. So this is a serious operation. This is not something that the ICE can do, because the ICE doesn't have eyes in the air. They don't have the kind of spy craft that the US military has. And I'm going to explain to you some of these planes, the features that they can do. That is just mind-blowing. So here is the flight plan of various flights that have been done. So sources that we have used are ADSB Exposed, ADSB Exchange, Flight Radar 24, and thanks to René Rigdon and Avery Schmitz of CNN for the graphic. I have got a bunch of links. CNN did a really good job on showing the maps here, but there are many other links that I have provided as part of the reference section in description. If it's not there yet, it will be there after this thing finishes, so please bear with me. Now, take a look at what is going on here. There are some flights that have gone into Mexico, but much of it is outside. Much of it is in US itself. So why is United States military having these surveillance flights inside the United States? See that carefully. Hardly any flight has gotten into Mexico, except near on the right hand side on the east coast. There may be one or two that may have strayed a little bit into Mexico. Much of it is inside the United States itself. What gives? So the point I think the US military is thinking is that first we need to make sure we can identify where all has these drugs been stashed away inside the United States. Remember, this is no more opium. This is fentanyl, and that's 1,000 times more dangerous. This is where the problem really ratchets up. It really ratchets up, and that's why things are becoming so much more critical. Now, so far, the Mexican government hasn't done much to object or help. They just said that they are going to provide 10,000 military people along the border with the United States, but that has to be seen. I mean, it remains to be seen whether when they are going to put that into action. One of the things that is being thought about is, remember this 4 years, this caravans used to come from Latin America all the way up to US, right? Unless the caravan people had, greased the palms of every country, there would have been no way they would have been able to make this trip. I mean, we are talking about buses and organized accommodation, food, everything. In fact, I've also heard stories, I don't know how this is, whether it is true or not, that if you happen to bring a lot of baggage with you, the bags got separated from you somewhere along the way, and they would reconnect with you once you are in the United States. Go figure this one. FedEx would be proud of it. That's what I have heard. It's just mind-blowing what are all the things that have happened. And many came with their children also, because they felt that they can somehow qualify, because the children might qualify under DACA. All these things are just hypotheses. Things are not happening as planned. People are being sent out. Now let's get back to why the United States is doing all this surveillance aircraft. The Navy's P-8 Poseidon aircraft has conducted at least 11 flights, and they have been using sophisticated radar to collect intelligence. So, according to informed sources, they have drones, they have sophisticated anti-aircraft missiles, they have pretty much everything that is needed to operate like an army. Now, cartels, there are many, they're not one or two, but in such cases, they usually tend to gang up together, because that's when they can appear to be stronger than what they individually are. On the American side, they will probably try and break it up, capture one or two leaders, and then turn those cartels against the others, get the intel, you get the information, you get the idea, right? So these are all things that are going to happen. But before that, United States needs to know the lay of the land. US needs to get to know the lay of the land. So first, P-8 Poseidon aircraft, U-2 spy plane, typically used in Cold War era. Meaning, like, for example, they used to have these U-2 flights from Peshawar up into the USSR to try and find out what the USSR was doing in those Central Asian republics, the Kazakhstan, Distan, Uzbekistan, all those things the USSR had walked into practically. So those aircraft also, because that's like 60, 70 years old, even those are being put to use. The most important one is the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 rivet aircraft. That was deployed near Sinaloa on February 4th. Like, I'll show you that in the picture. See that one thing, February 3-4 flight around the Baja Peninsula. That is important because the rivet actually can hoover up information. Hoover is the name of a very popular vacuum cleaner in the United States. And when somebody says hoover it up, that means it's like, get me a Xerox of this, right? Meaning like, get me a copy of this. But it became synonymous with the company that started it. Same way, hoovering up information typically means that you're going to suck all the information, be able to get the data, connectivity, commands, because there'll be chattering going on. Everybody's running a little bit scared because these flights are something that they probably can track too. There is a fair amount of collusion between CCP via MSS with the cartels. That is very well established. The question is, what can the Mexican government do? That I'm going to come to in just one moment. I hope you have already liked this video. Now, traditionally, the Pentagon flew only one surveillance mission per month in the region. Where is one and where is so many in just a matter of few days? Now, the other thing is, resources that used to be focused on Russia, Ukraine, China, etc. are now being diverted to the southern border. The reason could be that they want to make one huge action and then be done with it and not have to revisit this. Typically, it is possible to do it, but we need to understand what are all the ways in which this is getting smuggled into the United States. For example, we talked about how the precursors to fentanyl get shipped separately, and the precursors are essentially legal, so nobody can stop them at the borders. Where are the precursors coming in? They're coming into Canada, they're coming into United States, they're also coming into Mexico. How these things are getting assembled to make fentanyl like drug is something that everybody is curious about. And is it possible that they have decentralized all that so that it can be like precursors only, and then like a lab in Las Vegas will take care of the need of Las Vegas so that it is completely decentralized? That would be a scary thought, because that would kind of explain why there were so many flights done within the US. You see that the line between US and Mexico is the right across like a horizontal line, and then it kind of bends a little bit because it follows the Rio Grande River. But look at the number of flights inside. So the United States is trying to figure out, in my opinion, that they want to find out how this distribution network is working also. So US itself has been penetrated in this case, and we have told you that 50,000 illegal Chinese who are more or less like military, maybe criminal, also have gotten into the United States. When is the US going to catch them? So far we have not heard anything about Chinese illegals. So that's another thing. Stay tuned. We will get that information also, and once we get it, we will share that with you. What is happening is data is being collected, intelligence is being collected. Then once you have enough information, then they will start cracking down on people, especially in the United States, and then start building evidence against them on their activity, which can be essentially called as terrorism, because if they can establish the link of the person with the cartel, cartels have been declared as terrorist organizations, so they are under a much harsher scrutiny. This is one of the things that Trump had said he would do on day one, and he has done it. Now, all these things are all fine and dandy, but is the US military, as the next step, going to start doing military strikes against cartel targets? That's a good question. We don't know, because Trump had actually mulled over whether he should go and bomb the fentanyl labs and deploy special forces to eliminate cartel leaders. See, this is the decentralization, if that has been carried out, makes this a much harder proposition. I'm not kidding. And even eliminating cartel leaders might not solve the problem, because everything has been decentralized. So it is like, you run your own franchise, you take so much precursors, you are on your own, you create your own fentanyl, you distribute it. So far, what the United States has been able to do is to catch fentanyl coming in at the border. But if the precursors are already inside the United States, then anybody can create it. So this is not an easy problem to solve, but I'm glad the President of the United States is giving it his full attention. By the way, the illegal traffic has come down to 5% of what it used to be. It has come down by 95%. That's the good news. Still, people are still trying to cross, but I think that's going to be not much. Now, can the United States military go and strike at these cartels within Mexico? Would that not violate Mexican sovereignty? That's a question, and that's something that they would have to cross. When it happens, they would have to talk to the Mexican authorities. But then the problem would be that half the government, not half, but significant people in the government may be connected with the cartels. So then basically you're leaking information about what you're going to do. So that could be something that will be at the back of the mind of Trump. He may not want to tell them where he's going to strike. So it's becoming an interesting puzzle here. So one good thing about all this is a very determined attempt to try and clear United States of all fentanyl. And once it's cleared out here, guess where the attention is going to shift to? In my opinion, it will be Myanmar, where the Golden Crescent is, and as well as in China, because that's where the next big operation will be. And I'm sure this will be brought up during the discussions with Prime Minister Modi on what India has done to try and eliminate the cultivation of poppy and opium. But India cannot do anything about fentanyl. Fentanyl is not, there are no crops for fentanyl. This is all a lab operation. So how much of how many labs have come up in India? How much is the distribution decentralized? That would be a huge cause of worry for India. Right now, it is believed that the migrant crossings are at their lowest since 2020, which is when Trump demitted office for the first time. Now, all these organizations are foreign terrorist organizations, and they would be placed under the same category as the Boko Haram or the ISIS and the Hamas. So if you put them along that way, there are people who argue that, look, these are commercial entities. The problem with thinking of them as commercial entities is that the money made out of drugs is unbelievably large. You can buy just about anyone you want with that. And it is believed that some of the lawmakers in Washington, D.C. may also be in the pockets of some of these cartels. So this is not going to be easy, I can tell you. And I've got one other video that I'm going to release maybe in a couple of days' time about one congressman who has been recording videos in Chinese, teaching Chinese how to evade detection by the ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Unbelievable. This is a congressman, and he is an heir to the Levi Strauss fortune. Can you believe that? Things have gotten really wacky. I'm sorry to say this thing. And it is my conjecture that all these prime ministers or presidents along this route, they're all probably on the payroll of a certain individual who has 5 letters, last name starts and ends with the same letter. You get the idea. Now, the other issue, the other challenge is that some of the people inside the Mexican government work for these cartels and the others against. So how do you know who is with you and who is against you? It's a difficult problem to solve. But let's start looking at what's going to happen. Let us say that some action takes place by the US military on cartels. How are the cartels going to come back? They are going to resist military involvement. There will be drones. There will be, I don't know what things that China has sent to Mexico. US can't be guarding what ship is carrying what from China to Mexico. In fact, it's easily carryable because US cannot patrol the entire Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean, right? So that's another challenge. Now, the counter narcotics operations, how much of a help the Mexican military is going to be is something that again is debated. Like I said, people don't know. People don't know how many of these people are with them and how many are against. When you have that kind of a decision making to do, it becomes a little bit harder on how much information you want to let on. Now, by not letting on and going deep inside Mexican territory, then you would be violating Mexican sovereignty. And if there is any collateral damage such as Mexican civilians, that's another problem. Can you differentiate the cartel members from the others? Are the cartel members themselves Mexicans? Probably. So all these questions are going to come up. But I think there is a method to this madness. In my opinion, there is a method to this madness. And we will know only with time how things are going to play out. That's all I have for you right now. I took a little longer than I thought, but be that as it may, you know as much as I do. And I'm going to add all the links in just a moment. It got a little delayed. Apologies for that. Let me see if there are any questions. I think there are a few questions. Let me just line up all the questions first. Yes, there are unknown tunnels. Absolutely right. Sandra Blake is absolutely right. And they are paying as much as 15,000. And oh, no, it's more than that, Sandra. I think the number is much, much higher. Indian Tovarish wants to say, Sree Harlaka, many Mexican states have economy funded by the drug like Sinaloa state and Chihuahua state, even parts of Guanajuato and Jalisco. Listen, telling news is not bootlicking, okay? You should be able to differentiate one from the other. This is serious because this affects every one of us who is living in the United States, and we need to know what is going on. Anyway, I'm not going to answer every one of these questions. You are absolutely right, Sandra Blake. There are soldiers in Mexico who are also on the take. I mean, we have all seen movies like web series like Narcos or Breaking Bad and things of that nature. We know what is going on. The question is, how effectively are we going to be able to shut it down here and then take it to the source and make sure the source doesn't create any more? That is where the bigger battle is going to be. That is going to be in China, in South China Seas and along the Chinese coast. I hope you understood what the game plan here is. This is coming all from there. Okay, so that's all I have. Let's take a few questions. Sree Iyer App wants to know, don't you think the Mexican government is in cahoots with the cartels? They get their cut too. Well, let's not completely tar everybody with the same brush. There may be a few, but again, a lot of work has been done. So you have to do it in step-by-step basis. First, freeze the borders. Then start getting all the illegals out, because there you would also be taking out people who might be part of the distribution network of this fentanyl and other drugs, chemical lab-grown drugs. Once you do that, you have a little bit of breathing room. Then you can start targeting what is going on. You'll have a strategy in place. Right now, the strategy is under formulation. We'll have to wait and see what happens next. Certainly, we are happy to give you most breaking information. It takes a lot of time to put together all this information. Please do like this video and share this thing among your friends and family. �爾𝗡𝗻 wants to know, sir, why couldn't US take action for so long? Good question, �爾𝗡𝗻. I also don't know the answer. I have no answer to that. In fact, they knew all along. I mean, look, there are two things here. Legal immigration is welcomed by everybody. Illegal immigration, when it started in early 2021, PGurus was one of the loudest voices airing concerns. Almost every day we were telling about the numbers that were coming in, and all this happened under Biden and Kamala Harris's watch. You have 15 million illegals just in this 4-year period alone. God knows how many of them are illegal and how many of them are, I mean, they're all illegals. God knows how many of them are criminals, murderers, rapists, who knows what else, maybe ex-commandos. Lots of concerns, okay? I don't want to scare everybody, but the point here is that this is something that has to be taken on a war footing, and that's exactly what Trump is doing, and I appreciate that very much as a US citizen. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you soon. Namaskar.